Sir,
Live.
come on. Desk number 4023.
You got what?
Desk number 4023.
Okay.
And that's Kingston.
Wow. 4,023?
When he told me, I'm like,
4,000?
so that it's about 4003.
Well, I assume it's not SBL alone.
So I remember that.
SBL and tax.
Yeah,
And
but
the-
at the end level is policy.
Oh.
So then that download level.
Oh.
And if you have 10 person sitting in
Yeah, right. It shouldn't be. Yeah. That's, I mean, it's 4,000. 4,000.
Same thing.
I don't believe you.
I had to put it off and
So
say,
I thought the number sequence this time started with 4.
Probably, yeah.
Because his desk number 4, which other one? P5 is 53. 0053.
Okay. If you go onto YouTube and search for APM Workshop. Yeah. All right, cool. She can't make it today, so I'm going YouTube live.
YouTube Live?
Yeah.
yes, it's on YouTube.
What?
I'm sick. I'm calling about it again.
Yeah, man, it's a big thing.
I remember turning to nobody face. So this is now pointed to the board.
Yeah, find out if the same.
If anybody's supposed to be sick.
This is on whose YouTube? Which one?
My YouTube channel.
Or YouTube. Also, I know how about lecture is.
Yeah, man.
So now we're more find something. You be a thumbnail.
And guess what? It was me because I had to.
Oh, you go back for it already. Okay.
Great idea, sir. Trust me, great idea.
That's a couple of yeah.
So I need to subscribe to your channel.
All right. I'm gonna stay on it. She can't come on channel.
You need to ask her if you prefer that.
Pavel. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Everybody have a booklet?
No,
No.
nobody that appreciates it.
Mr. Ali, good morning.
Hi, morning.
I see you in your juice to
I didn't be working after 9. I was still book up like a. The early open. Last one.
Yeah, man. So,
Come on. It's presentation.
oh, yeah. Ricardo, you get it? Let's see yours. Trees. Anyone, you're gonna hold that. Now, I say my top to you.
So remember, let's begin with a word of prayer. Carry Marissa. Who else? Anything else?
Best Christian news, you know. From English Academy.
Oh God. We need the AC on in the training room also.
Anybody been to Jamaica when you need for life? It's not the first thing we're doing. So they want to see that you normally lock off everything.
Normally, I look at my work and realize that stuff are not.
I just mentioned it.
Yeah, because she was actually calling me. I saw the missed call from her. Probably come up and all about you, and then someone said, come on, what's in there? Yeah, I like it for the people.
You want to look for next week? What time do you see for Friday?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Jackie, have one, four,
All right, she said she's here. All right. So good morning again.
Good morning.
All right, so this is our APM curriculum. We call it P5 anymore, but it's officially APM.
Yay.
See you.
So here's the plan for our workshop session. We want to get you to a point, just say we're guys that when you look at the questions, you read the scenario, you suppose you can write stuff that will give you, at worst case, 50. All right? Now, the paper, as many of you have realized, is a challenging one, if even for the fact that we know that pass rate is lower than the regular. Yeah. Right? But at the same time, we also have situations where many persons, and I know many persons in my class would have gotten in the 40s. So we want to see, we don't want you to just get in the 40s. We want you to go beyond the 40s. We want to make sure so you get in the 50s. But the 40s not really help.
Nope. Objective not met.
Objective not. All right. So we're going to look at some stuff. I'm going to talk quickly. We're going to do one of the answers. You are going to do one of the questions. All right. And we're doing the question. So you're going to see where you are at. So someone already declared and said they know where at the start. But we want to, and then we will see where you are at the end.
Sir, you don't need to do a test. I can't tell you.
Right now. You're at zero. Zero. And highlighting guys are key, are very important. We're going to speak to what the examiner said. Not saying anything new, but I want to highlight it to you because I'm not sure how many the examiner's comments. All right, and then we will look at one of the first question, a 25-mark question. All right. So let's look in a booklet, page 1. I'm going to skip through some of it, I'm not going to read all of it. But I'm going to see if I can highlight some of the more poignant things that the examiner has said. The marks awarded to a question and to specific parts of the question are always a useful guide as to the time that you should spend on it. I'm thinking that most of us know that. All right? And of course, it mentioned in your past paper questions as part of your preparation, because a number of the questions are not necessarily, while not necessarily being identical, they do give you a sense as to how he tests particular areas, when set the exam, particular what he's looking for in terms of the answer. All right? So your best preparation is to do past paper questions. All right? The paper is one that has analysis, evaluation, and above all, application at its core. And it is a good mantra with which to approach any question in an APM examination. Am I relating the technique to the scenario? Am I evaluating its usefulness in this specific, in this specific situation? We have learned a number of techniques and methodologies that are very useful. All right? The question isn't whether they are useful. The question is, are they useful to this context? All right? Given this context. So your answer must come around the context of the case. You can't tell me ABC is a wonderful thing. ABC will give you accurate costing, blah, da, 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 da. Yeah, except for this company, they don't do any customization. They have a bunch of old people who don't want change, stuck in their ways. All right? They're operating in a mature market, so chances are, if a competitive dynamism isn't there, then why are you doing this? All right? Similar beyond budgeting. Beyond budgeting might be a very wonderful thing. Supposed to get rid of that dysfunctional behavior that people supposed to be less short-termist. All right? Take more risk. All right? Except again, you are a dog. Right? Look at my portfolio, you're a dog. What makes you a dog? You have a low market share in a low growth market. And I must make you go beyond budgeting? I think not. All right? If you are a dog, like, and I hope dogs don't bite her. Right? I'm not allowing you to spend money. For what? Right? I'm going to give you budget. I'm going to watch margins because my initial reaction, my gut feel reaction is that I should sell you because you're a dog. It's just that you may be connected to some other parts of the business. All right? So guys, we need to bear these things in mind. Too often our answers just sound so bookish. That's all we're writing, the book, and we're absolutely not looking at it. All right? That. For example, a recent question required candidates to assess whether the existing KPIs used by the company cover the financial perspective of the balanced scorecard model, but a large portion of candidates spend time explaining the BSC and discussing its advantages and disadvantages. There's a quote that I saw, I don't remember who said it, I was looking at LinkedIn yesterday, and they were saying, the person was saying, having knowledge is not enough. The application of that knowledge is what is required. And it was in relation to ACCA, right? This was just somebody talking about job, work. All right? It is not the knowledge, it is the application of that knowledge. All right? You could know the most things, you could know the book from cover to cover and still fail P5. Right? And sometimes, yes, because you know the book from cover to cover, yes, you want everybody to know. You want to demonstrate to the marker how brilliant you are because I know the book from cover to cover. Right? To be specific about this point, reanalysis, assess, evaluation, application, and those 4 task words there are the cornerstone of P5. And so we're going to actually look at, I think, 2 of them. Evaluation and assess. We might even have a discuss in here somewhere, right? But evaluation and assess are the core tasks that the examiner wants you to do. All right?
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
This diagram, analyze is to give both perspective with a conclusion, and discuss is to give both without a conclusion.
Yeah, right. And part of analysis is when you're doing that discussion is to explain the how or the why, what caused the situation. All right.
And you look from both perspectives.
Yeah, you get it right.
The negatives and the positives.
Yeah. All right. Candidates who come to this examination expected to repeat memorized material will probably score only between 20 and 30%.
They must scare me.
Right? The other 70 to 80 of the marks, and funny enough, I mentioned the other 70 to 80 is for the 4,000 other do the SPL, the new paper that they have a thing there that says, yes, 100 marks on offer, but you can only write technical stuff, knowledge stuff. How many SMs of 4,000?
Yeah. Yes, yes, no,
no, 4,000 people.
A lot of people lose one of the papers.
Yeah, right. So their way they have set it up is that 80% of the marks are what we call technical marks. Now, technical marks here don't strictly mean repeating the knowledge, It just means application of the knowledge, right? That application of the knowledge is only 80 out of the 100 can get marked. The other 20 marks is for professional, the way how you answer the question. Whether, for example, you did things like skepticism. Now, our examiner gives you professional mark, but he doesn't break it down like that. All right? But here is the expectation, because the SBL have these, as I said, these professional marks. One of them is skepticism. You need to be questioning. When an answer evaluates, you have to be questioning. All right? It expects you to demonstrate communication skills as well. Be clear, be logical in your argument. It expects you to exercise judgment, because we are going to make judgment calls in here. It's not ask you to judge stuff. All right? He's going to ask you to do analysis. Now, all of these things that I'm talking are things that they get marks for in the SBL. And he specifically says to you, I am giving you skepticism mark, communication mark, examiner is giving you those marks in P5 or APM. He's just not telling you that he's giving you those marks.
Really?
Yes.
You know, me and another lecture, we had the same pass up on my exam. Right here it says 4 professional marks. In my 25 mark question, you tell me that, I'm just going to answer. And he's like, no, it's there.
Right. So the idea is he Remember, you know, one of the things your examiner said as well is that your APM, like many other professional papers, but particularly these optional ones, is like he's setting it at a master's level. Alright? It's just that you're not writing any long dissertation, blah, 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 blah. But the expectation is you should respond at that level. You should be thinking about being a consultant. And you should write as such. Alright? The management accountant is, or the strategic, to be more specific, a little more specific, strategic management accountant is a consultant to the business. Whether the person is employed internally by the business and so as an internal advisor, or externally where you go to other companies and give your views. Whatever position, inside or outside, you're a consultant. The expectation is that you must write. You must look at the case, you must look at the context and speak like a consultant. Alright? Of course, the paper contains elements that are of technical nature. Many of those elements would have been learned in the FL papers. It is always beneficial, therefore, to be aware of the papers that underpin APM and have a full appreciation of the technical granted knowledge of the content of those papers. And then I put a little part here where it's making reference to one question. It was very easy to score full marks on this part of the question by ensuring that the report addresses its readers with a concise indication of the subject matter and the date of the report. That's all part of the communication skills. All right? Of these aspects, the lack of professionalism in highlighting where one section of the report ends and the other begins is something candidates should make sure that they always address, as this can make the practicality of marking the paper very challenging. You want to make your paper, we're going to spend a little time and talk about that later on, as readable, as reader-friendly as possible. The more reader-friendly your script is, the more marks you get. It's just a rule. All right, one of those unwritten rules. As a marker, if the paper is easy to read, I'm already on your side. If the paper is hard to read, I'm already against it. All right? Candidates need to be aware that performance management is an area which advanced level is dependent upon situation and environment. A good professional level answer will go beyond the mere repetition of how a technique works and focus on relating it to the entity's specific environment. The marking team felt that those candidates who had grasped the need for this went on to ask the paper. All right? So look at page 3. Now, I myself have done an analysis a few years ago. I haven't done one recently, can't find the time. But I've gone through every single P5 question. Look at every verb that was used. And my assessment showed that 34% of the verbs used was one particular verb. Evaluated.
Yeah.
Now remember, now whatever verb can use them. So don't think it's only 3 verbs. I don't have 3, okay, one is 1/3. 3 verbs. Alright? So I have to put those spreadsheet and put verbs in there and then. Alright? So when I take it out, 1 verb was 34%. I think assess would have been $1 now, but I think $2 either 50 or 60%. Alright? So those 2 are your keywords. You have got to know what evaluate expects of you. And later on, we'll look at what assess expects of you. So we mentioned some definition here, what ACCA website had said about evaluate should determine from the scenario the value of in light of the arguments for and against. All right? Put it simply, it means to what extent is something, whatever the position, either of value, not suitable, appropriate, whatever the thing, to what extent. And because you're saying to what extent, it can imply look at the pros and the cons. Because if I'm asking you to what extent, it could be that to a certain extent it's good, to another extent it's bad. All right? What value does it bring to the organization? And this little extract here is from your examiner as well. So I mentioned the special explanation of evaluation. To evaluate means to judge or determine the value, worth or quality of an object. If that object is the performance of the company, then the answer can be expected to be descriptive but based on numerical measures such as profit, present value, or EV. And the examiner hardly ever asks you to evaluate the performance of a company. All right? Doesn't mean that he can't. He can. It's available to you. But we hardly ever do that. All right? But if that object is a performance system, which is what he will ask, or a costing method, which is what he will ask, or a remuneration package, which is what he will ask, then a candidate is expected to weigh up the advantages and disadvantages of that method, possibly in comparison to other appropriate ways of doing things. All right? It should also be noted that weighing up the advantages and disadvantages mean more than simply listing them. So it's not just now create a subheading that says advantages and I create one that says disadvantages. That's still not it. All right? It requires a final application of judgment. Remember, I said earlier that in the SPL, they specifically says we're testing you on judgment. P5 guys not telling you those things, but it's all part of the professional skills test. All right? And it is not that you write any additional words for these skills tests. It's how you answer the question. That's how we know whether you're displaying these skills or not. All right? So if I say to you, for example, and I still get to this day, some students do that. Take a look at the company's dashboard or the company's performance report and tell and evaluate whether those metrics on that dashboard or in that report is appropriate for the company. All right? Most persons recognize that they need a basis to evaluate it again, so they will probably compare it to the mission. But here's what students write, seriously. Yeah, market share is enough. This other measure is enough. Yeah, it satisfies that. Where is the skepticism? Skepticism questioning. Where is the judgment? You look at all the points, all the factors. All right? You have those who on the flip side say, you know what? Since a P5 exam I do, and I'm asking for those, I'm going to say, instead of saying it's perfect, I'm going to say everything wrong. So if you gone on the up, you gone on the other extreme. This is not good enough. 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 That brings absolutely, guys, no value to the paper. And think about it. If you were the CEO of a company, you hire a consultant, PwC, KPMG, whoever, to come in and do some stuff for you. All right? And charge you millions of dollars for the report in there. And all you see in the report is, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, this is not good enough. I'm expecting you to say to KPMG or PwC, this is not good enough. All right? And I will not pay you for it. you need to say why it is good, why it is not good. And in many instances, guys, there are degrees of, if you want to call it, goodness or not goodness. All right? So it's so many times it's not just a simple thing. There are some points, some metrics that are just poor. And we write that they are poor because. There are some metrics that are perfect, and we write that they are perfect because. But there are some that are in between, they are not sufficient. So it's not that they are bad, it's just that by themselves, they are not sufficient. We're expected to write that. So it's not two things you have when you go to the exam. That is either right or it's wrong. There could be a middle ground that it kind of right, but it not truly answer the question. All right? All right, so let's finish what we're reading here. Judgment as to what is appropriate in the given scenario. And then you mentioned that assessment is a very similar exercise. Evaluation of the following typically requires you to specifically say. So I'm giving you some examples where if the examiner, if it's in the requirement, it should automatically trigger in your head, I need a basis. All right? So here are some of them. Each point of the basis is examined against the scenario to complete your answers. So if you ask us to evaluate the performance system, basis. The reward scheme, basis. The appraisal system, we must have a basis. The remuneration package, we must have a basis. And for example, for the remuneration package, our basis is that the remuneration package should not just be simply basic pay. All right? It needs to be a balance, all right, of your market value, and there should be some performance-related component aligned with the shareholders' interests. So that will get the management, the CEO, to act at all times in the shareholders' interest. Now, having said that, it now means then that I can go then and take a look at the person's remuneration package and see if that is so. And then look, because I've said there should be a market component, a basic thing. Is he getting a market component? That has nothing to do with performance. That's what the individual is valued at. All right? Then the second point is I'm going to look at the bonus component, the performance-related component. And I'm going to determine whether or not the performance-related component is aligning the manager's behavior or performance to the shareholders' interests. All right? Suppose, for example, yes, we do see a bonus-related component. All right? A performance-related component. The manager gets his basic pay, but he gets an amount based on revenue. All right. So if you hit a particular revenue target, he gets a bonus. What is our concern with that?
Manipulated, it could be on credit sales.
Right. Right. So here's the idea, that is in no way, the fact that it's aligned to revenue is not aligning it to the shareholder. Alright? And so what may happen is that, yeah, the manager behaves dysfunctionally, do a lot of credit sales. The shareholder get no value from credit. Shareholder get value from cash. Alright? Shareholder gets no value from credit. Shareholder gets value from cash. Alright? So when this person rack up all of this out of the world revenue and you pay him When we look at the rest of the books, even when we look at stuff, for example, like net profit, which is now a closer figure to what the shareholders would be entitled to. Because think about it in the accounting, the shareholders only get money after government takes the taxation, okay? And after the debtors, the creditors have been paid. So them down the line, you know, what other people ever get the money before the shareholder get the money? So what if the net profit is a net loss, but the revenue was out of this world? So you're paying this man and giving him fantastic piece of bonus, and me as a shareholder I get zero. If not adding any value to me, that arrangement not helping me at all. This arrangement is making me broke. Because what's going to happen with that is that persons will realize the same thing, and everybody will start selling shares. So there goes my capital appreciation. It gone down. We now have dividends. The share price now go up. What am I in this for? Alright? So we must ask the question. These are the bases, and that's what we're going to use to judge. Alright? And we think the thing through. Alright? Some others, performance report and dashboard. Performance metrics, just need performance measures. The costing method, ABC absorption cost. And again, as we say, ABC is the grandkid on the block. Everybody loves ABC. Problem with the grandkid on the block is that the grandkid on the block don't fit in every situation. Alright? So no matter how wonderful ABC is, if it is not appropriate in my business, don't tell me about it. Alright? And the only way you can answer that is by giving me the basis. In, for example, like ABC, you tell me that the basis of ABC. ABC is appropriate where? Alright? You have a significant portion of your overheads, of your total costs being overheads. That's one condition. Where you do a variety, a wide variety, so you do a lot of customization. Second criteria, there's a lot of competition, which now means that getting your costs right is important. Third condition. All right? So those are three bases. So if I don't see those three, then I'll probably tell you, say, it don't make no sense. If I see those three, then I'll probably tell you it's no sense. I'm also aware of some drawbacks with ABC, which might very well be appropriate to the answer as well. I know as a general rule, ABC is expensive. ABC is time consuming. And even though the wrong cost moves and by extension the wrong cost line. So it may still prove difficult in that situation. So the all three, but then I'm aware of a difficult situation because ABC is a culture change. ABC takes up a lot of money and management time. What if the company is in a little rush now, in a little crisis, and can't find the time right now to devote to ABC? Right? What if they are set in their ways? They tell us that the financial controller has been the financial controller for the last 20 years. Chances it means that the financial controller will not want to change his or her. And sometimes it tells them don't like change. You may explicitly write it in the case. Alright? So watch out for those things because then you say, oh, these three things were my basis and they match up nicely. But look at the other things that I mentioned in the case. The other negatives that are in the case tie back to the drawbacks. Alright? Then we now need to use, just don't, it's not that we generally tell you the drawback of ABC just so. We're saying ABC have some drawbacks that apply to you. Alright? Budgeting method, whether incremental, zero-based budgeting, beyond budgeting, all of those are in there. Transfer pricing policy. Can't answer that without stating the basis. All right? And of course, as you said, beyond budgeting. All right? All right, let's take a look at some examples now. So this is evaluate. And the first one we have up is, let's say, for example, evaluate the performance report, dashboards, and performance metrics. So here is the actual requirement from a P5 pass. All right? Write a report to the board of LAC 2 for 14 marks. Evaluate the performance report of LAC using the example provided in Appendix 1 as requested by the board. And I add a little thing now that came from the case, which is to give you their mission. The first choice for customers by providing the right balance of quality and service at a competitive price. We will achieve this through acting in the long-term interest of our stakeholders, earning customer loyalty, utilizing all our resources, and serving our shareholders' interests. All right? So, as I said, that's a little extract from the case, and that speaks to the objectives, the mission, the vision, the goals. Sometimes it can even speak to the strategy that the organization wants to pursue. If that's the strategy you want to pursue, that those are the objectives, then any measure that you put in place, and let me make this part clear, any measure is to help you determine how successful you are at the strategy. The measures do not cause us to achieve the strategy. All right? The measures speak to how well are we performing. All right? So if, for example, we said we wanted to be number one, we put in a measure that tells us that we are number two. It means that we're on our way, but we're not there yet. Right, it's a monitoring tool. So it means that we now, as the board, have to do additional things to now move us from two to number one. The measures are not the tools that get us the results. The measures are the tools to see if we are getting the results. All right? So remember that. The measures are not the tools. The measures are the indicators that tells us where we are. If we're achieving or not. If we're underperforming or not. All right? And then we, meaning now, imagine that we are now the board using these measures. When we say the numbers, it means that we now need to take. All right? So it helps us with our decision making. The measures themselves are not the decision making tools. All right? But they help us to make decisions. All right. So here is how we write an answer like this typically. So the first thing, state the basis. So look at what we wrote here, which is based, guys, on the stuff that we have up here. The current report has a number of strengths and weaknesses. Because at the heart of it, that's what evaluating is about. To what extent? These will be discussed according to whether the report, 1, addresses the mission, contains appropriate information for decision making, 3, shows signs of being short-term, and this one is mentioned in this case because in the case they specifically mentioned that one of the groups, the stakeholder groups, I think it was the shareholders who had said, the management of this company is acting short-termist. Now that is in the case. So because somebody says so in the case, I need to answer that question. So I'm going to judge the report, the dashboard, or whatever, because a concern was raised in the case. If somebody, a key stakeholder, says something, we need to evaluate to what extent that is true. All right? And if all of their measures are short-termist, then I'm going to come up on the side of shareholders and say, you know, you're right. They are acting short-termist because all of their measures are short-termist. How do we know if their measures are short-termist if they are only for one period? There's none that is future and forward-looking numbers there. Then they are short-termist. All right? So that's how we know. And some other things we can look at when we're generally looking at reports. Is it well presented, contains financial and non-financial information, and contains internal and external information? All right? The current mission, this is still the report that we're writing. The current mission, now look at what the examiner has done here. Therefore, this is what we're also recommending for you. So we have got the mission up here. So at the top, we don't try to address the whole sentence because it's unmanageable. Here's part of your job as a, generally speaking, as an accountant and specifically as a strategic management accountant. You need to simplify things. Wherever possible, you need to categorize, even though categorize don't necessarily come into categorize things. Group things so they're easier to understand. All right? So when they write that first mission up here, so under the part where I say additional and following was given, these are a lot of things for me to follow. So look at how we break it down. The current mission can be broken down into two parts. All right? To be the first choice for customers and to provide the right balance of quality, service, and price. Now, that is much more manageable. Now, I can then judge, look at the report and say, is it telling you that you are the first choice for customers? You can answer that question then yea or nay or somewhere in between. And when I answer that one, I can answer another part of it. When I try to answer the entire mission by itself like that, it poses too much problem and too much effort. All right? So we break the mission down into bite-sized pieces. All right? There are 3 strategies for achieving this mission: reflecting shareholders' concern, earning customer loyalty, utilizing our resources, and serving shareholders' interests. So note the strategies as to how we accomplish the mission. We're also going to judge the metrics against the strategies as well. Because if your strategies are working, you will accomplish the mission. If they are not working, you won't accomplish the mission. And again, to ask the question, if it is working, we need an indicator, therefore, that will tell us whether or not it is working. And that's what the metrics are there for.
So, sir, to link this back to our study, not that I'm bookworky,
Right.
but in order to make the connection, break down the mission statement into a more simplified version, and then pull the critical success factors out of those simple versions. And then from the critical success factors, we'll check the performance dashboard or whatever data they gave us to see if there are KPIs that satisfy those
CSFs and
CSF.
those mission objectives.
Okay.
All right. So that's the approach. And that's what we want you to get stuck into your head. All right? Give us the basis. I'm going to evaluate this report on the following basis. I'm going to use the mission. The mission can be broken down into these things. I'm going to use these other parts of the basis. And then I tackle each one. Now look at this one. This was worth 14 marks for us to judge the appropriateness of the report. Look at the things that we said we were going to judge the report on. Address is the mission. The mission itself is broken down into 2 parts. And then the strategies for achieving the mission is further broken down into 3 parts. That's 5 parts. Even if we were to write 1 point each, so that we get 2 marks for it, that is 10 out of 40. And go back to our basis at the top. Because notice never mission alone, we said. We also said whether it contains appropriate information for decision. Which means that if you answer that, even 1 point, you're supposed to get another. Whether it shows signs of being short term. And I said it doesn't really take anything much for you to say it's short term or not. Let's look at it's just only 1 period, 1 year. Alright? So see more marks there. So initially you look at it and say, what am I going to write for 14 marks? Wrong approach. The 14 marks is there to tell you, say, whatever you work out the calculation of the timing, don't spend more than that time on it. Alright? So don't think about how am I going to get 14 marks and therefore I'm going to write something here and I think that I'll give me 2 and then I write something here and I think I'll get 2 more. You know what I end up doing? You end up making up stuff when I'm relevant.
Yeah.
Because I will say, oh, I think I'm at 8 now, but I'm not sure. Maybe add something else and that's the worst thing you could have ever. Because no, that made us start even write even more foolishness. And then take up more time, which means that now you don't have the time to properly answer another question that you could have probably get half the mark on or 3/4 of the mark on. You rush to do something. Alright? That's not how you will get the marks as long as you have a systematic approach. Now don't make that determine. And many times students in the class ask, so sir, how much my points we must raise here? So again, wrong question. Alright? Wrong question. Because if you realize then, if I'm judging the report based on all the things that I have given here, the probably got more than 14 already. Remember talk to say? Alright? So don't worry about it and say 14, I'm going to start panicking. I can't write 14 or anything for 14 marks. Let your technique work. Alright? You know the technique is involved in everything in life, right? Because them talk about say Jamaica getting to rowing. So no, so we're relief about rowing. The little white man sport and they're already there. So they came and did a site on the sports and they came and did a program, a workshop or whatever it is. And a lot of the participants get one said, you know that it's not just rowing. There is a technique to it. With the technique, the more successful you will be. Right? I'm watching a bit of tennis. It was Davis Cup, Federation Cup, USA, Croatia. And listen to the commentator, I'm seeing it myself, and they're saying, you know, it's a technique that cost her that point because she never planted her foot properly, right? And many things are, I'm watching because the 2020 for the West Indies women's cricket is going on as well. And again, the commentator is there on there, and she said her technique was just one of the little things that throws her technique off. She said the back foot need to come forward a little faster. So she was drawing it. So because she had dragged now, she had delivered the ball wrong. And the commentator is looking at it and saying, you notice, and I'm slow it down back and short. Her back foot back foot take too long. Now that now, she's not a cricket person now become it. Because they say, she bought on 4 ball there. I don't want to lick her 6. And she explained to me, it's a technique. We have techniques in this as well, guys. It will follow the technique. We will be but it was exceptional. Unusual. But I want to tell you, even without technique, you still wouldn't get where would never have been a success. No, he may not have executed the technique perfectly every single time, right? Because he's naturally gifted. right? But the fact of the matter is that if you can't execute the technique, it's not going to get anywhere. And you will see him come out of the, when after the finish the race, and I'm asking him, I said, why? Some of the stuff they were supposed to do now, come too early, that. The one who was analyzing the technique so much is Shelly and Fraser Price, because she would tell us that. Coach, I got cost, because should I keep my head down a little bit longer? No, I'm not seeing all them stuff like that because I said, go Shelly, go Shelly. Right? So I'm not really watch them kind of thing there. She knows the technique that the coach has taught. Right? We need a technique to in this guys. We need to follow the technique. If we don't follow the technique, alright? Try and give yourself a chance by following the technique. Alright? What about the reward system? I mentioned this one. And again, just quickly read the requirements. Explain the purpose of setting reward targets, which are challenging, and evaluate the standards and rewards for the hotel manager's performance reward system as requested. Note again, 14 marks here. He has said, I'm not going to get 14 marks. Just do the thing. Don't worry about 14 marks. 14 just tell you how much time you spend. Alright? Look at the criteria state. The main criteria is control. Write a thing that say what they are, and then we'll go through the case now. We're going to look. Is the current reward scheme for shop managers clear? Is it understood by the managers at that company? And we'll look in the case to find evidence that can support one side or the other in between. Then when we finish with that, we're going to look to see if it is motivating. Again, we're looking at the case. Does it truly provide motivation? And one of the things that, for example, that we talk about when we're looking for whether it provides motivation or not is it just one big lump sum figure or percentage? If it is one big lump sum figure, we generally say that don't provide motivation. Why? Because if people feel that they can't achieve that one big lump sum figure, they'll just sit down and have a look. Because it's out of reach. So we tend not to see it here. Because that still make you go on with something. Alright, so we fall off of the level here, but we can land on the level here. We fall off of the level here, but we can land on the level here. And take it easy. And in that case now, I'm paying this person to sit down in the office to do nothing. That is not adding shareholder value. That is destroying shareholder.
So you say by putting it tiered, it motivates staff to actually try to achieve something.
Right, yeah. Alright? So we expect everybody to aim for the top one, you know. But in reality, things may happen and sometimes we realize that we can't reach the top. Right, that you can't achieve the top one. Alright? Alright, look at the activity-based costing. Assess whether the costing base is currently used. Again, look at how we state the criteria. We answer by stating the criteria. ABC is especially useful where there is a wide range of complex products, so that's the customization, and where production overheads, portion of total production, a significant portion of the total overheads, and where competition makes determining the real cost of production important. So in that opening sentence, I have given 3 bases. I then take each one in turn, use the case, the information in the scenario to answer each one of them. All right? Based on the case, yes. Overheads is 30% of their total cost. That's significant. All right? In the case, it mentioned that they customize the product for every customer. Every customer give them one shape, style, whatever. So I do it. All right? And then it might mention in there is very competitive. The customers want blah, 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 blah. Answer. All right? But I must give the basis. All right? If you give the basis, trust me, I can tell you that the marker of your script, and once you start reading, he smiles and you probably just read one sentence below that just to see if you're really on the right track, but chances are you might just give it a mark. As a marker, you love your work to be as easy as possible. Alright? So when certain scripts start to make your life difficult, you start frowning and you say, Lord God, we can't bother with that one. Alright? When you see something along the right path, you kind of know say, alright, let's work with this. And ACC themselves will have examples of it, where their markers, and they recognize that their markers give more marks to those who present themselves better. But it's part of life. Right? They have also done, not ACC, but persons across the world, have even seen a documentary on it. Depending on how we dress to come into an interview. So, it's part of the whole presentation thing. One guy, I worked at NCB, one of the senior managers, I remember him come out and he said, the guy is not a room and I'll get the job now. No matter what I do. Because he asked him to sit down in the room in the meantime, and they were observing it. And my boy kicked back and foot up a tap and foot on desk and he said, it absolutely don't matter whatever he said, and whatever I raised him and said, he ain't getting the job. You be on your P's and Q's in an interview. You know, so if I drive up to the place, you know, there are a camera out there. Hey.
Best parking that you can execute.
Right? You have 9 tests to the security.
Yeah, everybody until morning. Even the person who sweep the street.
Yeah, you don't know what watch you. I remember camera they all about the place these days, so you never can get. Right? You go open the lift, you don't know the person, you have not met the person, you can't be doggish to somebody on the lift. Next thing with the same person you have here, so I ain't interviewing you. So it's the same thing with the marker. I don't know why we are behaving as if the marker is not a human being too, but why we are behaving as if it's not real work. Presentation is everything else. Yeah.
Straightforward.
All right. What about transfer pricing policy? And we don't know where they're getting from, guys. Look at how we start our answer. A good transfer pricing system will ensure, look at bases. The first one there, goal congruence. The second here, performance assessment, measurement between the divisions. 2, 3, maintain a suitable level of managerial autonomy within each. It means those 3 things become the basis of our answer. Well, look in the case, and we're going to see, you see evidence in the case that it is fair, it provides autonomy, Alright? Now, how do we, in this case, for example, how do we look in the case to see if it performs, if it's a fair basis, divisional autonomy, and goal congruence? We look at the other things we know about transfer pricing. So, for example, if an external market exists, which means that the buying division and the selling division could easily go on road to get the stuff. Alright? And you are stopping them. You are telling them cannot go road. Immediately, the alarm bells can start to go off. Because guess what? The economy, if not this, even if not this, you know, the economy gone. Because you are telling them to either buy internally or to sell internally. When you put it easily. And the idea is that you must allow them to make up their own minds. If they can get the best price on road, let them go on road. If they can get the best price inside, then they buy inside. Alright? And then the minute now that you impose yourself, you be in head office now. That cannot be a fair basis for assessing the division. Why? Because that decision is no longer under the control of the management of the division. And where there are the element, we said you cannot use uncontrollable element as a basis because it's not there. You are judging me of something I have no responsibility for. Put another way, you're asking me to be accountable, to answer for the performance of something that I did not decide on. I am not the right person, and never me make the decisions the way I ask me. Right? How many times have we said, and we have heard a person say, that is above my pay grade?
Too many.
Because I never make the decisions the way I stress me out. Right? I must not be held accountable for something that I was not responsible. Alright? So that's what we look for. Because of we had the basis, we know what we must look for. The basis is key. Alright? If there's any concept that you need to get in a P5, it's the basis.
Yeah.
State your basis and use the basis. Alright? And we need to see the basis separately. We need to see a set. Alright? So what else is here? Budgeting method. Evaluate the suitability of incremental budgeting at each division. Incremental budgeting on one simple thing, but still looking at the basis. Incremental budgeting is useful in organizations where the business is stable, and so the historic figures represent a solid base from which to consider small changes. That's the basis here, you know. Where we look, is the business stable? Are they operating? Are they now, say, at the maturity stage of the business life cycle? All right. We mentioned here that there are times where you can also add the following to incremental budgeting, which is to state an advantage, and then we will see the advantage is something that is appropriate or that the company would enjoy. The advantages of incremental budgeting are that it is simple and easy, therefore does not take up much time and resources. So if you hear the managers and say, no, they can't bother the budgeting thing, that'll take up a piece every time,
Just use last year when I take this.
just use last year when I was simple exercise. No, you are telling them to rolling budget, seriously?
Take that.
If you know, we're going to go to what happened last quarter and roll it to that. And these are not going to be the year when you don't want to budgeting thing at all. No, you cannot be ready. Alright? So in that case, you cannot be recommending rolling budget. Even probably even stuff like zero-based budgeting can be recommended to the people and the people like the budget. So we have to tell us that we're start zero-based budgeting means that's enough. So start back from zero. You have to justify every cost item. Right? So I'm going to sit down and investigate every dollar item and I have next year, previous year, last year as a basis for nothing. And you have to go zero based budgeting, fire a consultant. Alright? Alright. What if we have one approach versus two approaches? We have 5 days to approach. We have to evaluate which is the better approach. So look on page 6. So again, writing a report to do this, an evaluation of costing against an activity-based costing system. You should provide illustrative calculations using information provided on cost for 2010 and order number 11784. Briefly state what action management might take in light of your results with respect to this order. All right? What do we do? Here's another one, question 2, one item 2, part B says, perform an assessment of the financial performance of LOL using economic value added and evaluate your results compared with those of earnings per share. All right? There's a part C as well, evaluate VBM measure against traditional profit-based measures of performance. So it's always something against another. So you can give it these where it is probably the new approach versus some old approach we did. All right? What's the basis? How do you do that? Look at what we say. Use criteria for the numerous approach to match to the circumstances of the organization. Use the benefits and drawbacks of both methods to link to the circumstances of the organization. All right? So in other words, we almost have two sets of bases there. We tend to stress more on the newer one. So look at the basis for the newer one. Does it fit in with what the organization is doing? All right? Look at the positive and the negatives of the two approaches. Which one of them more link, more fit the company? That's all the guesses. All right? So again, if you notice, we still bringing into play the context, the circumstances of the situation. We're not choosing A because A is newer, right? We're still looking at what A offers compared to what the company wants. Does A have all the things that the company wants compared to B, which what they are using now, and more than likely will lead them into trouble right now. All right? Because many times the only time business consider something new is because things are not going so well. So if we can tie the weakness of the current system to the poor performance, while tying the improvement, the proposed improvement in performance to the newer system that we have made. All right? And it's not about the 6, 7, 20 points that we know from the book. That have nothing to do with it. Again, relates. All right? Look at page 7. Write a report to the board of Lockheed which takes each critical success factor in turn and evaluates how the suggested KPIs fit to the CS. Now look at this one. It really is asking us to evaluate the KPIs. But the KPI is not a model that we know about, that because the ABC is appropriate where transfer pricing is appropriate for these things, right? KPIs are just indicators. What's the basis for judging indicators? What's the basis? CSFs. All right? The CSFs become the basis. Critical success factor. So I'm saying, do these KPIs really measure that critical success factor? Does it measure that one? Does it measure that one? All right? And I'm asking it in terms of, is it enough by itself is enough, or these set of KPIs are enough, or do we need more, or do we need less? All right? So again, everything that we do, as I said, the significant portion of your paper is between an evaluation and an assess with a user basis. All right? There are other parts that are not those areas, of course, where the basis we might, because we're taking a different approach, the basis may not be as strong. But as long as we're doing evaluation, as I said, to many extent, assess as well, right? It needs the stated basis. All right? Just let us know from day one that this is how I'm judging. All right? And I love to give my example. Come to a talent show. He said, well, we're going to judge you on a certain thing. We're going to judge you on your vocal delivery. We're going to judge you on your stage presence. We're going to judge you on your relatability to the crowd. You know from day one. So those are the 3 criteria I'm using to judge you. All right? So you come on stage, I expect you to perform well in those 3 areas. All right? See if there's anything else here. Yeah, sorry. Look at our now page 8. So this is assets. Now, in the broadest sense, what it means, determine the strengths, weaknesses, importance, significance, ability to contribute. So if you look at evaluate, it's something similar. If you look at assess, it's something similar. Discuss in a way is also something similar. So it's basically the same thing, kind of asking most of the time. Determine some things of value. All right? Assess the use of EVA as a divisional performance measure for the manufacturing divisions at each. All right? Again, we're going to use a basis here, but probably now because we're bringing in stuff like an assess, it definitely also means that we can bring in some drawbacks of EVA, or you can look at it to say the positives of EVA. All right? So EVA will force you to be concentrated on shareholders' interests. It will force everybody within the organization to make decisions in the best interest of the shareholders versus some other thing. For example, if we're using ROCE, you know, there will be kind of dysfunctional stuff that can happen. Because if you're rewarding manager along the lines of ROCE, the manager can always keep that asset at the lowest level. All right, so don't change it, don't replace it. All right, so the value of the asset is now literally almost zero. So you don't want it to be quite zero because that have a throw your ratio, right? God divide something by zero, now you have, you calculate that, give you error. So you make it have a little nominal value. Scrap the number that I put over that minimal value. I will look like I'm brilliant, I'm the best manager ever. Right? ROC, I probably have the 700%. So I should get one heap of bonus. But is it adding any value to the share? So I can make that point to say EPA does that. And when you give the management one single measure, everybody at all levels have one single measure, a guide. Then there won't be any little contrast. One of the problems, for example, we have with the balance scorecard is that we said sometimes the measures are conflicting. Because we can have on the financial side, we could have cost, so I try to watch cost, quality. But cost and quality conflict. EVA is one number. And conflict not there. Whether they're strategic, whether they're tactical, whether they're operational, everybody are focused on it. But then also, when EVA have some of the drawbacks, and then you can get into the drawbacks. Many times, by the way, and I'm hoping that nobody in here thinks that EVA is subject to manipulation, just like every other financial measure.
No, I will not.
All right. All right. Because it's based on the financial numbers, so why would it be subject to manipulation? EVA can encourage short-termism as well. It's one period. Yeah, and based on historical things, they tend to be again backward looking rather than forward looking. Alright, it's complicated to calculate.
It's time consuming.
Time consuming. If it's never complicated to calculate, you won't get in an exam. So if I just add 1 and 1, they will not bother. You can add 1 and 1. Right? What is the adjustments that you need to make?
Yeah.
So it had one adjustment. Stern Stewart themselves, who came up with the idea of EVA, and they are consultant that does EVA in various businesses across the world, They had reported that they did 180 adjustments for one person. In the exam, we probably have to only go 2 or 3. And we can still get it 2 or 3. Right? And I'm about 180. So we say exam, I need 180.
Next month, we're not doing the exam.
Alright, so we can do 180 adjustments. Alright? So those bring some. So when you have to think about the assess, guys, start also thinking about not just basis now, but definitely now maybe start thinking of some advantages and disadvantages to see if it is relevant to the case. So don't just know because you say assess, I'm going to put up a section that's bring up all of these advantages and disadvantages. Anything that I'm bringing up must be something that I can relate to. Alright? Any point that you bring up that you can't relate to the case, let me out. It actually is more of a burden than it is a help. Just let me out. Alright? If you can't relate it to the case, let me out. Alright? See if there's anything else. Oh, I'm going to do a quick little thing about discuss as well. And if you look at discuss, examining details by using arguments in favor or against. So if you notice them kind of all along, just there, the slight little variation. I don't know if this is one word, but you know, just slight little variation. Because if you look at all of them is this practically the same thing. Arguments for and against, arguments for and against, arguments for and against, arguments for and against. Alright? And here's an example. Discuss the integration of information system in an ERPS and how the ERPS may impact on performance management issues at work. Now, this doesn't require any basis because the arguments for and against. Alright? And the topic itself doesn't have any basis. Alright? But what it means, again, when we're doing for and against, it must be to the case. If you do your integration of the information system to some positives here, that will correct some problems that exist at your place. Here are some negatives that you must consider in your decision as well. Blah, blah, blah. Look at what is in the case. The cost training, yeah. All right? Because as a general rule, and you can apply in most cases, one drawback to any new information system is that it's costly. Costly to implement, costly to train, you have to buy software, blah, 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 hardware, blah, 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 right? Get data in there. So there's always a cost. And so the question is, does the cost truly outweigh the benefit? Right, yeah. There's the very. So there's that. So literally for any case, you can, as long as the circumstances are, the chances are you can possibly bring up cost and use it to say cost. The CEO must consider the cost versus the benefit. All right. And look at this one again, another example of discuss. So we're not even in a basis here. Discuss how Victoria's success in the customer's perspective may impact on the metrics given in the financial perspective. All right? So if they do well here, how will it affect their margins, their profitability, their revenue, whatever it is? So if they please their customers, how will it impact on the financial side? So this is your balance scorecard coming into play. All right. So definitely basis for evaluate. Chances are to some extent you may need basis for assess. Chances are we don't need no basis for discuss. All right. But when we're looking at the pros and the cons in the discuss, again, we have to use the case. All right. All right. Just a quick thing on something. I'm not going to go through all of this, but focus point 2, requirements used in parts of the theory. So this one here, this first example is an advice. So not an evaluate, not an discuss, not an assess, not an explain, we're giving advice. Advice on the extent to which target costing would help fit in to achieve financial performance objectives set by the shareholders. And there are times when the examiner, guys, will give us the last question like this and say, tell me how this theory, this methodology can help. It means that we're going to use the theory or the methodology as the basis of our answer. So instead of, it's not the basis of an assessment, but the steps you must follow to do the thing. All right? If they ask us how ABC can help, we know that there are some steps involved with ABC. All right? For ABC, steps involved, we put all of the costs together. It's something that we call a cost pool. All right? Then we look at the total cost of all those costs associated with that cost pool, and we divide it and we get a cost per cost per the cost driver, right? And then now we use that cost driver, the cost, stuff like that we want us to do. So when it asks us to use the theory, they say, how can the company use this to achieve improvements? It means then that the theory, the steps involved in the theory becomes the steps to follow. All right? And we demonstrate it by saying they need to do this first, they need to do this second, do this third, blah, blah, blah. All right? So for example, this one with its target cost, and look at what we said here. Target costing begins with taking the price which the market will pay for the product for a given market share. From that, the required profit margin is deducted to arrive at a target cost. And the difference between the estimated cost for the product and the target cost is the cost gap. Where the estimated target cost, steps are taken to reduce the cost gap. The product can then be sold at a price which the market will accept and which generates an acceptable profit margin. Those are the steps that are involved in target costing. We take those steps and relate it to your case. So for each sentence that I gave up here, so you write something related to your case. All right? Because each of the sentence is the knowledge part. We now need something from the case. So it might be, for example, the first one, target cost, and we begins with taking the price which the market will pay for the product for a given market share. Company XYZ believes that they can, that the customer, the competitors are selling it for $100 and they can sell it for the same with a 10% premium on it. So they are saying that they can sell it for $110. That's what they're right. So tell us what the market is, and if they say they must sell it for the market, then you say they must sell it for the market. If they tell us what the market is, and say they must sell it more than the market or less than the market, we're also right. And that's how we answer the part there. And we'll go to the next one. From that, the required profit margin is deducted to arrive at a target cost. Again, the management or the board have said that their target margin is 15%, is 20%, is 25%, right? They would deduct this now from the selling price to arrive at a target cost of X. All right? So you give us the knowledge, then relate it to this. And it's a simple little exercise when you get stuff like this. Sometimes feel like we need to write and make it more complex, and we don't have to. All right? The only time we mention stuff in there is, let's say the case, for example, says that this is something new, and they have no experience in doing it. All right? Which means that wherever possible, wherever is relevant, they will make the point to say that they said they can get it for 10% more. They can sell it 10% higher than the competitors. All right? We're asked, what is it? How do you arrive at that position? given the fact that you are not known, you have to make an entry. So the idea is that you probably think about penetration prices rather than just this premium price when nobody don't know you, right? So how realistic is this $110? So that is the skepticism. All right, we're getting down to part of freedom costs, where the estimated costs exceed the target cost. Again, how accurate are these estimated costs given the fact that you have never made a product before? All right, so we're expected to ask questions like to judge, be skeptical, to question. All right. Evaluate whether the application of each of the 5 S's following the warehouse organization NJN is adequately measured by the performance metrics in Appendix 1. All right. Now it's an evaluation whether the application of each of the 5 S's following the warehouse reorganization is adequately measured. So are the performance metrics given in Appendix 1 properly measuring each of the 5 S's? Alright, which means I will take each S in turn and see whether I measure in Appendix 1 addresses. Alright, now the funny thing for this one was that students saw this, some students, well, all students would have seen this in the requirement. Some persons panic and say, I can't do it because I don't remember what all of the 5 S's were. But actually, he did mention the 5 S's in the case. Yes. Same as where I understand the 5 S's are. So sometimes you look at the requirement and you start get all negative. Alright? But sometimes you don't have to worry about it. He will help you. That case gives you lots and lots of help.
It was a big case.
No, and
It was short.
yeah,
I didn't give information. Generous.
right. The way I have it up here that says under the recommended approach, I think that was how we had put it in there. So the 5 S's are undertaken, structurized, systemized, sanitized, standardized, and self. Alright? So it gives you the names when you're going further into any details. So you still need to have a sense as to what we mean by structurized, systemized, sanitized, standardized. Alright? Explain how value-based management could be implemented at Cantor and evaluate its potential impact on the group. We actually have this as one of the questions that we're going to look on. But so you get a kind of preview of the answer for one part of the question already. The implementation broadly involves 4 steps. So this is how these 4 steps are how we implement value-based management. And then we apply it to the case. So look at how the examiner answers it. He gave us the 4 steps, which is the knowledge. All right? A strategy is developed to maximize value. 2, key value drivers must be identified, and then performance targets for both short and long term are defined for those value drivers. 3, a plan is developed to achieve the targets. And 4, performance metrics and reward systems, measurement and incentive systems are created compatible with these targets. Now, having given that, you skip a line and you go down to the other part of your answer now. So you start a new paragraph by skipping a line and look at what we're doing now. So having given the knowledge as the steps, we are now applying each of the steps to Cantor. So look at what I'm applying. At Cantor, these steps might include, because remember the first one is a strategy. Look at what I'm saying. Might include a strategy of acquisition and disposal to go along with organic growth of juice. So the strategy part. All right. The second step talks about key value drivers. And next sentence, you never actually write more than one sentence. But see the next sentence here. The key value drivers for each operating subsidiary would have to be identified from strategic to operational levels, and these would include gross margins at the strategic level and site service levels operational. A note in there it also mentioned key value drivers must be identified and then performance targets are defined. So I mentioned the targets here. Targets must then be developed from these measures, possibly by benchmarking against competitors. So I suggest a way that you can arrive at your target. So in that paragraph, we had 1, 2, 3 sentences. All right. Last paragraph of his answer: the impact for introduction of new performance measures, because we talk about performance metrics and reward schemes based on the drivers and a reward scheme to motivate staff. They will need to develop such measures, targets, and rewards at the group level, then at the subsidiary level, and finally at the individual site level in order to ensure full coordination of the system across. In order to align the interests of employees and management with shareholder value, because remember VBM we're talking about, and it's about aligning these staff and internal stakeholders with the external shareholders. A feature of the new reward scheme is often a share-based payment scheme. Simple, straightforward, related to the case. All right, that's our answer. Many persons never thought that the answer was as straightforward as this. All right, many persons felt that yeah, I had to write more. Just like a brief one, I don't think I went through a lot of details on this one. Advise the CEO how activity-based management, so this is ABM now, not ABC, could be used to improve business performance in people. Now, ABM has at its foundation ABC, of course. Mm-hmm. All right. So you have to do ABC so that you can do ABM. All right. So recommended approach, let's remind you of what you should know. So ABM can be used at the strategic level to do the right things. Which means anytime I ask about ABM and you mention, say it can be used at the strategic level to do the right thing, you must give us an example from the case. What does that mean? All right. It means they can, for example, decide that we're not producing this good anymore. We're not serving this customer segment anymore. All right? We're not providing this option to customers anymore. All right? The strategic level decides that. All right? I've given this as an example previously. Island Grill used to sell their meal with a soda, just as our KFC sells theirs. You know what they say? Don't get a drink with it. Oh. All right. Taylor Lane was actually on TV when they were asking about that. As you said, we look at it and say it's really adding cost because the customers never valued the soda. Many of them never wanted the soda. All right. But it was adding cost. And when the other things were happening and whatever, she was trying to say, they were trying to come with ways to minimize the increases that were coming. To them take out what was not valued. That's what APM does. And at the strategic level, you must decide that. Having made a decision at the strategic level as to what are the things that you are going to do, look what happens at the operational level as to. All right? ABM. And so management using the results of the ABC will then take a management decision. So is, as we say, have implicit rather than explicit value. And if something has cost, which the ABC can identify, And we not see it on jeans and so forth because now I wish to be done more. Okay? You can come up with designs tying their rewards, for example. Look at this one. So we give you two examples there about case and costing. One is a discuss, one is a then in a situation like this, we take what we know about as a basis, or we can then simply using the discuss one is a discuss and evaluate. Say what are the positive things we know about case and costing, what are the negatives? Relate those positives to the case, relate those negatives to the case. Alright? So for example, here's what we know about case and costing. Case and is not about cost control, but about cost reduction. So does the company need to reduce its cost? If that is the case, then you are saying, hey, so like you should have done the case and cost anyway. Because it's so busy to control costs, you realize that you still have slack built in and that inefficiency, and nobody not improving the efficiency of the business. Alright? Kaizen is more dynamic as the target is constantly changed. When you do, for example, like your budgeting using your standard cost, you do that once a year and that figure stays for the next 12 months. Even though the situation may not be the same for the next 12 months. The dollar might devalue, JPS bill gone up, oil trade on the world market more expensive than you had thought. That's not how the budget was drafted. Alright? Pays and costing. In this aim at cost reduction, it's consistently reviewing that target. Alright? Kaizen sees employees as the source of the solution, not how the Western world cost systems tend to view the employees as the source of the problem. So the employees are the source of the problem because of them work overtime, so it take too long for anything because they want to work the overtime. Alright? The employees are wasting the raw material, right? And not as operating as efficiently as they could. So everything we're going to blame the employee. Here's and takes a different approach and say, no, them are the one who actually doing it. Right? Maybe they know the correct way to do it. Leave them alone, make them do it. Don't interfere, just leave them alone. Alright? Now remember, all of this is coming from Japanese people. And Japanese people they have a different culture to begin with from the rest of the world. Alright?
That's why I'm wondering why it's a part of our system.
Well, they're saying that Japanese people are very industrial. They work hard with their profit. They work for that money. They're saying implement this strategy. It's a strategy that works. Even maybe we need to change culture.
Exactly. So if we know that there's a better way to do something, why wouldn't we adopt it?
Because it is against our culture.
That's why
Then
you
we
change
change
culture,
the
you
culture.
change the paradigm.
And as we always say,
Right.
culture is not,
Oh,
we're
as
saying
I
that
must not do
sometimes it maybe the cost and benefit is not
That's not true.
in line.
Because here's the thing now, so we teach now and you become the future managers and then we teach the ones after you. This that we roll out a different set of culture
Yeah.
over and cost. Right?
Exactly.
Right? But the fact is that as we change out the old guard,
I was my old one at that time.
we'll teach you now,
We're not
the
like
change
that.
will never ever start.
But that's their
Alright.
that cost them.
So we have to teach you so that somebody will.
So we don't
Yeah. There's a message, yeah. And any country,
still don't think Jamaica culture, right? We're not Asian.
right?
All roads and bridges are very Asian. We're moving Asian.
We still
Very
make up.
pretty.
Don't think that the Chinese, and as you mentioned,
The scenario
and the scenario
aspect.
might very well be saying, when you look at all the angles,
Sometimes
yeah,
they word in such a way.
you must
so-
have to put in. In a case that even where the scenario is leading to favorable side, a little caution in there to say, still remember you have this little thing as well.
But even with things like this, where you see that it helps the company and it in the long run will make the company more efficient and profitable and stuff like that, the question may be leading to why isn't it appropriate? And then because you have all these positive things in your head, you end up
Yeah.
writing all of this what
Right.
they asked before.
I mean, yeah, you go back to the question I'm saying seriously, right? I don't know how successful he will be, right? But the culture, right? One of the things that is happening to right? Yeah. And of course, some persons were very upset with her, blah, blah, blah. She's supposed to be working closely with me, and nobody never want to eat no lunch with her. So we go eat lunch with her, blah, 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 and try to, make other people start talking to her. And eventually, this time. But she came with that whole other enthusiasm. And I think she came, I can't remember when in the year, but it was, a good distance before, for 6 or 7 or 8. And then, because earlier she was really being quiet and that kind of thing. And by the time we reach outside, and I walk her to her car, it's like she just couldn't hold it anymore and she just started to cry. So it's what? And she said, "No, I just feel like a failure." I said, "Why?" Because she said, "I've been here when I have fun every day." I said, "You go, right? We're not going to do it. The management can make it so like they're not going to do it. She don't even feel like she could keep the job. She just feel like she could resign." She has been there now almost 10 years. Right? Because you're fascinated in the culture. And so you don't see it as a problem anymore.
No. Instead, she changing culture.
In culture change her, yeah. And I'm sure if you remind her that time we shall laugh and say, seriously, I don't know what I was working. But we have seen evidence of it working really in Japan, where then culture kind of lend itself to it. Chances are it's going to be very difficult for it to work in Jamaica. I do accept, I think we shouldn't just broad brush all Jamaicans saying, like, we don't want to take our responsibility and we're lazy and blah, 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 blah. We're not. There are many persons who accept responsibility, case and case. But I think so. Other institutions, without it being called, right? And it's because culture work hard. Here's an example, and address the CEO concerns over their use in managing as it relates to police forces. The police force, really? Right? But it asks you first, discuss the merits. What merits mean to you? Below the relevant section, extracted from link to targets, the likely reaction of employees to the system of performance management, especially as there is a strong, if we're going to use the, if we look at the case and look at the measures that were there were some measures saying that there was one where them said some mad guy like, of course, but it's quite easy for us to pass on the accountability to somebody else instead of taking the blame ourselves. A lot of the solution to crime are we, not police. Killing more people by police shootout, not going solve crime. We have been killing those people dead by the hands of the police since independence. And every year the crime figure get worse. I'm saying the very first thing should have been in your head is that I have children in the car. Where is that parental protection? That I am not going to do them things that if me I drive away and I find it as an adult, I drive differently. When I'm me alone in the car, versus when I'm there picnic. And the driving when I'm there alone too. Yeah. Because so don't know a sense of responsibility. Come on, I do. Me always say, I don't want something because of my carelessness to accident everybody that did on top of me go live. And then me have to go live with that. Because a sense of responsibility. So in one of the things here, they said they're doing a Georgia police performance and something. I don't remember the metrics now, but once you look at it, one of those metrics they said, yeah, not control of life. Alright? So if we answer and touch upon all of these points here, and I think it's 5 or 6 of them, it means our answers are incomplete. So the case told you clearly what he wanted in the answer. 4 is worried about the influence of accountability, so that's a responsibility thing coming into time with accountability. 6 is also concerned about importing the use of league table from the school sector might not be appropriate here. So that's cool. But the best police force over even the more even the police will go protect me as well. You know, think about move to get the deals.
Praise the Lord.
We need money. Right? Because if they consider us based on the crime statistics, not all the people don't want to move up down. How many of them move up down since the time when most people are dead?
No.
But again, that is an unfair assessment. Maybe the level of crime downtown far outweighs the level of crime uptown. So how are you going to judge which police force is better?
And that becomes that as well. And the downtown, given the fact that the nature of the downtown one, people now go to the hospital die there. Uptown now we have a little health care. So we check, we do it, we check out that there. So yeah, so we're in the hospital, examiners and something in the case. Because again, when you look at it, assess the impact of the radio frequency identification. Look at what it said. So we said that's one, and the one there, those are numbers, stuff that I put in bracket. So those wouldn't be the case. Look at the
Yeah, that's
Right.
a good question.
So-
What if the judge is not
Just one, yeah.
Use a key. You must have something.
Yeah, I'm assuming
It
that
must be-
it can actually, if you, for example, say I put something in your pocket, yeah, the bottle then of insulin, non-control. Alright? Because they must be after something. So it could be that non-control or something. Alright? Income as a performance measure for each of the regional offices. They want you to suggest other measures and why they are appropriate for 2, 3, use different, it doesn't know account and say, you must suggest a different measure for every office. Alright? In there, no real me, you have a choice. Utility accounting appear to be the main conjures by using net income being asked. Alright?
Sir, as it relates to 3, the key measures for each. We know that to use our one size fits all is prudent, but if you use various measures, it impacts comparability, doesn't it? So, where are they conflicting in what they want?
Here's why they would probably want it, because you could have different circumstances operating at different divisions or different regions. All right? So the fact that I tell you to watch margins over here, because I want to make life easy for myself, I say watch margins everywhere. Margins may not be the best. I need to address the issue that you have. All right? So let's say over your place you have an issue where, and in this particular case, that was what happened. One company, its revenue was running right. I mean, them just have low revenue like crazy. We need to address that concern. No, because so in a situation, and because your problem is so urgent, I think I need to focus on something, right? Decisions. So it's one of the things that we say we judge reports on is their ability to aid decision making, and that's what we mean by decision making. We're able to tell which solution is working. That I send home some stuff, I try to cut costs, blah blah blah. Has that solved the problem? I do the measure, I check.
Okay.
All right. If it hasn't, it means that solution.
Change the solution. Try not to make that.
Try things in there in terms of categorize them for you to make it a little easier. In terms of, for example, look at stuff mentioned. Control, look at what can help with control. Now remember, is we expect head office to be the ones in control. They set targets for the operational people, and they judge the actual performance against those targets. All right, so that's why I mentioned in there, for example, like the budget clearances and that kind of thing. Do bear in mind that because therefore that head office is the one setting the targets, head office themselves can make mistakes. It's not that they are infallible or anything like that. So if they set the targets too high, and we're doing budget, for example, comparing budget against budget, the first thing we try to back out of that budget is the planning variance. Because the planning variance is head office problem, not the operational. We can now compare to the actual and we get the operational variance. No, that is the responsibility of putting things in there that should not be measured. But what you're in there that should not have been in there. And what happens, people are not focused on that. All right? And therefore, we're not getting any true value.
And you could also be measuring so many things without ever even taking action. You just measure it.
Right. And we don't want, right. So we also try not to get into a situation where we just have measure, and measure, and measure. That not help nobody either. So company is something by Danny Miller. One of the things he mentioned about this particular company was that it was started by a chartered accountant. And what he did to grow the company was that he kept buying more. All right? And he kept the profitable part, and if there was any part of the non-profitable, he set it up for a lucky dog. All right? And he hired people from Princeton and Harvard and to do the same thing, to acquire more companies. So, all right? All right, let's take a break now.
Let us start.
All right.
This was interesting. It's something that I really like. And actually, it's not something on a consultancy basis.
Right. And it might very well open a new avenue for you that you never thought of before.
Because I think this is something that I think that would be very useful for especially small businesses.
You want me to bring you this? Oh, the big one. You want ice now? Yeah, the ice now. And the ice something like she do inside. Not really. Ginger sauce. Give it to yeah, that one shirt is going on. You come take it, you. And it's yours. You didn't think so? You have the number, sir? Yes.
But it's just the one. Just one and one. Yeah, I'm very good.
Chicken salad. One every year.
All of it is in white. Oh. That's why
It's only today and tomorrow, our Sunday too. Or you need it early today. Those one things is a that's all, we shall tell you that. Okay, on. Okay. Do your computation. Basically, do your computation and by July 31, go back to the next section. Based on the computation. And in the next section, also you have to have knowledge base. As someone who is going to make you very like this do I've done two questions and you can understand it. Sir, no time to start.
Yes, I was that's more I'm doing the mock exam. I don't know.
But why?
Certain, but whenever I finish a course and I'm moving on, I still finding stuff that I should have added into the section that I still don't from.
Tell him, leave it alone.
Leave that one open.
Because you won't get all the points.
Yeah.
As long as you get good value points.
Certain thing of points are concise. And I'm worried that the exam are gonna give me a half a mark because I don't know what I should have been writing.
So here's the main thing with it. Though. This is only the first mock exam you do. We're not expecting to be perfect the first time. You can't get it perfect the first time. You have to do a couple of them. So that's why I send you guys 3 or 4. So do the first one. So through your liquor, like I do the second one, you'll feel a little bit more. You know which one of the points that you keep forgetting that you need to bring in there, and by the third and the fourth. It's the first one you have done since workshop. Where workshop point out all that liquor things that you need to focus on. That's all.
Which I'm trying to I'm putting all that you said. In fact, I went back and visit your YouTube. I'm trying to make my answers as concise and to the point as you mentioned.
So how about the thing that this is the point that I want to make? So that's what I'm writing, and I'm going to all the reasons for it, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I stick to my format.
Right.
Political, government is implementing this, the impact on it this, company should do this, move on.
Right.
Moving to socioculture now, and I'm saying socioculture, this is, oh shoot, this is a political issue I should have put up there. So bad.
No.
What if you do is continue writing?
Yes. Or even if you want to do that, essentially you have to do a conclusion.
Drop it in at the conclusion.
Well, I'm not required to do a conclusion. I'm required
One for summary.
Then you put something at the end. So even though you're not required, don't stop you from doing it. So it's all
make it like an extended 2 minutes to say I write and the mark length already gone. You say right.
right.
Alright, sir. Do you remember the question? Do you remember
The mock exam I asked you guys to do? Now you look at it here.
It's still in my head.
Because that's what I got from somebody who got it from BPP.
And
Which
it's
is
actually for September.
right. So it's not in the right. So it wasn't in the BPP kit.
Okay. Sure. In the mission statement, it's a cooperative.
Right.
I know that. Cooperative is like different things.
Right. All I remember is markets, FM, like it's some farmers market or something.
Right? So in their mission statement, they're saying that they're going to be best trading practice, ethical sourcing of goods, ethical business practice, and trade profitability. But they're not a profit-making entity. They do offer dividends, but they're still trading profitability. If I'm going to come up with a critical success practice, I'm motivated not to say profitability is a critical success factor.
Okay.
But profitability cannot be a critical success factor.
Okay. So what else can be a critical success factor in that case? Given the fact that there seems to be some financial focus, what kind of could be a critical success factor?
Financial gain, maximizing the kind of dividend holder as well.
Yeah, it could be something around the margins, the efficiencies.
But sir, I already have value for money as a critical success factor. Because they did state that they want good value for money. So they're gonna have to worry about that. One of the critical success factors is good value for money. So I have already chosen that as a critical.
All right, so if that is a critical subsector, what's a KPI? What's a KPI for that?
The KPI, I'm going to look at the 3 E's.
But now when come out,
Yeah. That's why I said using value for money as a critical success factor, probably too broad. You could have break it down and say you could have looked at it in terms of the 3 E's: the economy, the efficiency, and the effectiveness as being your critical success factors.
No.
you had to find the
Yeah.
CSF and KPIs.
No.
You had to
Yes.
find
Yeah.
both the CSF and the KPI.
Yeah.
I would agree with you saying then because then you get 9 marks here.
Because
No, but they break it down.
breaking it down is the KPI.
Really?
Efficiency, no, yeah, is the measuring.
Yeah, but then you have to find what basis in measuring the KPI.
Right, that's why I said the VFM might be a bit too broad. And if you're gone with the 3 E's, you clearly see them as a critical success factors. Right?
Even if you say economy, you must know what economy is. So you find factor, and then based off factor,
Right.
you see if they're meeting the objective.
Right. I remember the economy, like, for example, we might be looking at it in terms of cost per doctor, cost per waste pickup. In the farmers market situation, I'm not quite sure what I'm giving in terms of details, but it might be it's the cost of the input, it might be the cost of raw materials, right? But remember, economy measures an area we want to measure. Efficiency is not a measure, it's an area we want to measure. Effectiveness is not a measure, it's an area we want to measure. Right.
Which is why you say.
So that's why I said, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think of that. That's a next question. Hello? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I could hear you saying class, the answers are here. The answers are they're literally in
Every bit of the answer is in the case. It's all in the exhibit. It's in the exhibit. And that's a good thing.
It's just that it's all over the place.
Right. It's just it's not right. It's not at one place. Yeah.
Yeah, evaluation. It's literally analyzing all the exhibits. Yeah.
All right, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. As we say, we're trying to establish some basis. And I know some persons talk about them basis is at 0 already. Right? And somebody else say they're below 0. Right? Like snow. Right? Turn to page 21.
Area 21.
There is an appendix also on page 22 related to that question. So let me see what we can do.
We meet together.
No. You're doing it by yourself. Right? But I must can do a little thing by myself. So the case is there, very short case. Very quick requirements. One little EV, yeah, one little EV, it's stuff in there.
That's your favorite.
So try that.
What?
That's their own thing.
Are we ready to find answers?
Not really.
Yes.
Can I ask the pen discuss here?
No, because I don't know something. I'm not sure.
Guys, I only believe that was 44 minutes now.
You're lying.
Yeah.
Submit up.
So, so that would have been more than the time you would have had in exam. And I'm practically sure that no one got to see. Is. All right? Whether it will benefit Basel and what changes the business would need to make if it were to adopt it. All right? So since the shareholders are unsure, it means part of our duty is to lighten them down. But it doesn't mean that we need to write everything that we know now, because the shareholders really now go a P5 class. Right? And they want to conduct the P5 class for them. That's why I want quickly to think of us when we get a sense as to what BBM is. So the very first thing you should start your answer with here is some clarification as to what exactly is BBM. So did we all start like that?
Yes.
All right.
What is BBA?
So what is BBM?
Okay, yeah. I'll start with that.
So what is BBM? In terms of how you started, something that the shareholders can understand, can buy into. Right. So that could have worked.
May I hear though?
All right, then never hear. Say it again.
Is that database management approach, which is often used at the value calculated on this capital.
Right. So I would adjust that to get a little thing in there. So the value for shareholders is not created unless it exceeds the cost of capital. All right. If it is above the cost of capital, the value is created. If it's below, then value is not created. There's another thing we should put in here. So I'm just Marissa fixing up the sentence. So shareholders need to be mentioned there. All right. So it's not, no value is created for shareholders unless the return exceeds the cost of capital.
Sir?
Um,
Can I repeat what I read?
All right.
I don't have those fancy words.
Value-based management is essentially focused on creating value for the shareholders and not necessarily maximizing profit. By creating value in the company's strategy, objective, and process all need to be aligned to maximize the shareholders' return, which is the cost of capital.
Okay.
Sir, me wrong.
Okay.
I have
What happened in this story here? Hold on, projects. Your basis is your target. If I'm going to bring in 10 years, I need it to have given basis.
Sir.
Alright? So if I don't say discounted, it's kind of hard for me now to bring on discounted at the end. It's all let me just remember. Alright? So the statement is actually not that the return is greater than the cost of capital. Is that the discounted cash flow is greater than the cost. Okay. Alright? So instead of saying return, we ought to say discounted cash flow.
Take off return and put discounted cash.
Right.
Sir,
Return is just really the easiest, lazy way to say it.
it's a financial term, that's it.
All right, but we really ought to say that discounted cash flow is greater than the cost of capital. All right, and we don't know already, again, because I said value is not created, or it could be destroyed in business. All right, energy may not put it, value is not created unless this BBM number is greater than. And we have been using that Basel ROCE, which clearly has not been created.
And then profit margins.
Right. All right. So which one are you now?
Based on what it is, it's in terms of the food.
Right.
So,
So look at this. So in the first part, or the second part, really about 10 years. In the a 10-year value on your current cash value, that has to be discounted. Because it's the fact that if nothing else is 10 years. So whatever value would have been at the end of the 10-year, I know that now. We need, and would have normally, you'd have think that I need to discount this. We don't know about it telling you that I want discount. Yeah. Discounted cash flow. We want it to get away. All right? So let it come into your head same way. And then there is the part about the businesses and the in the same part, yeah.
An increase in interest rate does not directly correlate to an increase in the cost of capital of the entity,
Go on.
because if they're taking on more interest and the interest rate is going to increase, they're going to benefit from tax benefits. So it may be pushing if you think about the relationship between cost of equity and debt. They may
Right.
have some savings from the tax perspective.
Could be. But what's that gonna happen to the shareholder? Who will get paid first?
No, but the shareholders actually like this kind of performance, how they take on debt, because they're saying if you're going to save more in tax,
Right.
then you may have more cash at the end of the day to possibly pay you dividends.
Right. But the more that you take on is still the less available to you. No, so.
That's not.
So it's 6 or 1 after us. But it is a fact. The more that you take on, because remember the debt, the creditors will always be satisfied.
Yeah, so okay, so you're saying from a cash perspective, they'll be paying this in, but the amount of tax savings that they'll get from the amount of.
But
problem
as an equity person, all right, so think about it.
I know my
When we are
problem
buying
is-
stock, just to clear up this part here. When we're buying stocks, guys, when we have money to invest, there's two very broad options. What are the two very broad options? Put it on our interest earned bearing account or invest in equity. When the interest rate is going down, more people put their money where? In equity. And when the interest rate go up, the people move from equity. Again, it's normal. So from that position we are at. All right? Right. So it's not that your perspective is wrong, it's just that we're saying there is a correlation between it. Right? And therefore, to get persons to buy more of your business, to invest, your equity will have to make sure that it's getting a bigger return than interest rate. So shareholders then will say, the cost of equity has got to be higher. Or else I put it power. Yeah. Right. Yes. All right, guys. So that's why. So even though this is interest rate, this I said there is a correlation between it and the cost of your debt. All right. It's not a one-to-one correlation, but there is one. All right. All right. So that now highlights to say that guess what? Cost of capital will go up.
Yeah.
If no one is accounting for the cost of capital, then how are you pleasing me as a shareholder? Isn't it likely that I'm going to abandon the shares and push the value down?
Yeah.
You need to be, as the management of the company, you need to make sure that you make it continuously attractive for me to remain. All right? And right now, ROCE not tell me, not make me feel like, yeah, I don't want to own shares because you have fancy ROCE.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want, you got to understand that.
Money.
Yeah, I want cash, I want money. All right, so these long-term projects might very well make your ROCE good, but it doesn't make my return as a shareholder.
If I'm having a session, we will take the basis as we are the argument.
Right.
And you will state if the action of the company is value to the shareholders.
Right, yeah. So again, for this question, we say whether value-based management approach is appropriate for Basel. So let's look at something, guys. So I'm not going to go through the MIC yet till we start doing some other questions. There's a short circuit today, just to see some. All right. So some of you may not know what I'm talking about when we talk about the MIC. It means that we break down the case in terms of the mission, objectives, blah, 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 blah. The industry,
Company, stakeholders.
the company, and the key stakeholders. That's it, we're not going to use it right now. All right? We'll do that for the other question. But let's take a look at this now. Here is stuff that we know. The company is underperforming, correct? It says 2 years of poor performance. All right? We know that they're using ROCE. And you notice I put ROCE on the problems.
And net profit margin.
Oh yes, and net profit margin.
Uncontrollable elements.
And net profit margins. So here is our issue with why I put these there. If these were great measures, I wouldn't expect you to have. So when I see in giving a case that the company I use these measures, and I have them problem here, what must liquid? Your measures must be right. Because look at what we said, what gets measured gets done. So the ROCE is fancy because it's getting done because we measure. The net profit margin, then I think they did give us some numbers, not it specifically. But they must be doing well there, so. All right. So in that case, then why isn't the company doing well? The company is not doing well because you're doing something wrong. All right. What gets measured gets done, and the flip side of it is wanna get measured, not getting done. Shareholder value is not being measured, therefore it is not getting done. Alright? There are other things, for example, it's big projects. Here, so, and again, it mentioned about margins again, so we try to get them for margins and blah, 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 blah.
So that means projects might look good now, but in the future when they cost of capital.
Right.
That's what
So
they
that's
say.
the point we're getting to now. So it's big projects, method of growth, and look at it now. Projects
Or restructured.
run for 10 years. So it may look good on the books now.
Correct.
But what does that mean long term? After I've already committed to this thing and committed the shareholders' funds to this thing. Right? So we can ask the question, all right, is this being alright? And look what value is to. So look at the questions that I'm asking. Alright? I'm asking here, Is the shareholder related? Is this being discounted? Look at the question that VBM answers. VBM, I'm about shareholder. VBM is about, how does VBM account for the shareholder? I said I'm looking at the cost of capital. Nowhere in here do any of these address. All right. Nowhere in here do we have, but VBM does that. So sometimes we need to look at guys and say, what's different? Right? What is different? What is it that VBM brings that's different to the table? VBM is about this, because look at what one of the issues that they did in the case. What am I calling now? When they spend the money on the trade.
The staff training?
Yeah. So they refuse to,
because they're profit focused.
it's them what you know.
Margins, short terms.
Right. Value-based management says I am looking for the drivers of value.
No, but it's a
Right. So they must see that's created a value. But if they had looked at it now from a VBM approach, and they would have seen satisfaction as one of the key drivers of value.
They would have been measuring.
So if I'm going to do this, I need this, but I can't get this until I need this. And therefore, the mindset of the manager, VBM says we need managers to develop a value mindset. All right? They need to be able to see where value is required and where value can be created and take action around that. If they have a cost mindset, wrong approach. And as the people them look at them have a cost mindset. Them have an accounting mindset. And was in one SBL class with one CEO the other day. Right? Sharon, that was serious. And I don't remember the question or the answer the student had said, and you know what she said to them? You're all such bean counters. One of us, I watch the money and now watch the value. I remember you left out about value mindset in there, but that you said, you're all such bean counters. Right? You just watch the money and now watch the wider person. Right? Which is what they are doing at that time. Alright? Alright. So let's try and see if we can go back through now. So
You're not changing mine?
I don't remember reading it.
Because you were talking, he was just holding back.
Alright?
Sir, it wrong, but I'm gonna say it same way.
You might write it wrong.
For me, I said value-based, the value-based management approach is maximizing increasing shareholder value.
Alright, so here the at Canberra, did you say maximization too as well? So the maximization is not wrong or anything.
Well, I said creating value for shareholders and not necessarily maximizing.
All right, yeah.
And I said increase.
The better term would be create value, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah, you did have that better term. And it's create value. They say, Marissa. Yeah. So yeah. But we wanted to go through at every stage. You must be creating value, right? So creating value is the better term, right, to use. And again, when the marker C start using the better terms, in the final side right away. All right? Instead of having to go over their head and say, hey, is that really right? Just say, create value. Make it top of it. Right? Watch football a lot, and sometimes they say this, they might talk about penalty and whatever. And one of the things that the commentators always say, which I agree with as well, if you give him decision to make, it may come out in your favor, it may not come out in your favor. Right? Just write the thing so he not have to guess and stuff. It's not about using big words. We like the terminologies, yes, but creating value is not a big word. All right? Maximization, no, that kind of sound like one per letters in there, no? You can't even count there. One per letter. All right? Creating value, that's all. All right. That's all I want to think that I use every day. Maximization, that's all that more sound
Right.
important and right. Yeah, yeah. All right? Even though there are going to be times you have to use it in the same P5. But it might be vision statement that gives us the right to use it. All right? But when we're talking about VBM, it's more about creating value. And that value is not created unless that return from our discounted cash flow must be greater than the cost of the shareholders. All right? So, all right, so we have that. What do we write next?
After that, so basically say that the BPM is like the approach aligns with strategic operational management process, focus on decision making, and then say, based on this body mindset, these are things. So identify value, structure, accounting distortions, and all that, and then give examples of how it's different.
Okay. Anybody else before I comment on that? Nastasia, what you do? All right, yeah, go ahead.
So we do touch on first the business advantage and disadvantage. What it is. So first, I would say heading my forward, right?
Right.
So I would say value-based management is futuristic, and looks at how Brazil will create value for the shareholders in the long term. Brazil has recently diversified by hiring more broad financial and non-financial aspects, and we look at improving customer satisfaction, which will benefit Brazil in the long run by looking at staff training that was postponed.
All right. Yeah, essentially the 2 points are there. Again, I want to use some stuff there in there. For example, you kept saying value-based management will do X, Y, Z, da, 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 da. Tell me at one point and just say key drivers for value-based management will be X, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, particular for the customer satisfaction part. Because the idea behind value-based management, again, guys, is how it works is that you must identify the key drivers for adding value. All right? And in this case, you could say for Brazil, that would be the trading, because one of the key drivers would be the customer satisfaction. All right? All right, so how we get into it? So both of you kind of do it, but I just want to get it clear in everybody's mind. So we have given our first opening sentence, our paragraph, or whatever it is. The next thing you do, you are seeing at least 2 issues. Not so. All right. We know. So even don't forget about the discounting stuff right now. Here's what we know for sure. They are using these, and it's not working. That's one. And what was the other thing?
The training.
Right, the training. Right? And we see in the case where they refuse to spend on the training. So if you don't say anything, it's mostly those two. So I'm going to write something on those two. All right? So I'm gonna pick this one first. It's about 5 strategies for adding value. Step 2, find key drivers, set targets for those key drivers. All right. Step 4, come up with numbers around the strategy. Step 3, step 4, then match the rewards so that we can get people.
By saying that we should be balancing with that.
Right. So look back at, so and I'm happy that you brought it up. Look back at that versus this that we have on this page here. Just to try and get the clarification in your head. All right, so look back at page 9, the bottom of page 9. So look at the bottom of page 9. Explain how value-based management could be implemented. See the difference? Implemented are the steps. Whether or not it is, and look at this one, whether value-based management approach is appropriate. It means can value-based management help us? Which is different from the steps. Alright? Everybody see the difference?
Yeah.
So one is how it can be implemented, and as long as it's around implemented,
That's what.
that means these are the things that I need to do. Alright, which would be the steps. When the talk to know if it's appropriate, it now means based on how value changes would need to be made. Right? So it's a section we actually have a bit of section A and section B. Certainly for part B, what does that mean is that certainly the way you're doing things now is not working, and you're going to have BBM are requiring you to make that change. And we'll talk about the changes that the right? All right. So this is the first thing that we have here: the ROCE and the net profit margin. So here's what we write. I will do have to make it very complicated, guys. All right. Basil is currently using ROCE and net profit margin. All right. That's not giving the shareholders the return that they're looking for. And it could be argued that ROCE anyway is not an appropriate measure of shareholders' value. Yeah, mention that indeed. All right. So the value-based management will fix that, because the idea about any metric that you use on the value-based management is going to be related to shareholder value. End of story. All right.
But sir,
So we're critiquing this weakness, and then we say, but hey, VBM fixes that. Because remember, we are judged whether VBM is appropriate. And we're saying you're having this weakness, VBM. So that's all that VBM are appropriate. What's your next weakness? Here's my next weakness. VBM addresses that. So my point is VBM. All right. So look at their weaknesses, problems, issues. All right. Then
to assess or to judge performance.
But BBM do both.
yeah, it could come in there, but VBM, yeah, can do, because VBM has a measure EVA. EVA is a measure of VBM. All right. So EVA does that, but EVA does have also a little short-term thing around it.
Yeah.
But we know VBM also have the longer-term thing about it, because it talks about the discount, the cash flow. All right.
Sir, I didn't write it because time used up. I was actually thinking about return on investment.
Okay.
When I'm mentioning about ROCE,
Right.
because the BBM focus more on shareholders, and the shareholders would want to see their return.
But ROI is controllable profit over controllable capital, which again is kind of ROE.
Right.
Oh, I know why. No,
Oh,
I know why for him.
oh, why?
Because we use ROI in work, from a work perspective.
Oh, okay.
you guys ROI and ROE isn't like the formula where it tells you it's the capital employed.
So what do we do?
Stop and think.
Stop and think, yes. So here's what we do. This question wanted us to talk about BBM. Do not mention a third, not bring a third party to the party. Alright? Because you're making life rough on
For
yourself.
yourself. So come on,
Alright.
life, man.
Them already asked about ROC. I'm going to talk about BBM. Let's not invite
And then
anybody.
sure.
Sir, I'm
BBM
trying
another
to
bottom.
fix the situation.
Fix the situation in another question when asked about general suggestions. This part A is not a suggestion. This BBM only BBM what we have to discuss what they have. These are all A and B are the workers. Alright? Alright?
Because some big book.
A three small book, you know.
Come on, why not to write? No, we are stressing ourselves. We're going to bring in one third element we never even get mentioned anywhere. I am not doing it. You ask me about this, I could have been yourself extra. And then request the teacher, and then someone say, sir, I'll take up for the examiner.
Yeah.
So on that. Instead of write, if you write just general about BBM, alright? Now it means that where am I going to get the other marks? Because that's 4%. Alright? This. What Basil did recently was to postpone or whatever the word was, they decided not to do this thing, they started training. Right? And it's based on the performance measures that they have. If they were using BBM, one of the key drivers they would recognize for adding shareholder value would be customer satisfaction. And the key to getting that done would be to spend money on trade. Alright? So yes, they do need something like that. Here's another thing, there's a general thing about BBM, and we can apply it to this case as well. And of course, you're going to show the discounting somewhere near where you're talking about this as well. So it's not as simple as just saying this and BBM will solve it, but BBM will discount it. Cash flows. Alright? So it's not just a little 1 mark, you get the correct or the 2 mark because you're showing in this now. It comes more stronger than that. Apart from say the key drivers, which is very positive, is that it generally focuses all the managers on one thing. Yeah. And it is shareholder. So any decisions that's taken, it's always in the interest of generating shareholder value. You might say, so what does this have to do with Basil? Look at what is happening. The operational managers get to about net profit margin. This I want to get about fee. And what are they focusing? As any of those that you break it down, they say all of the individual divisions. So how am I created? Alright? And the difference, another part of the difference is the fact that there are many divisions that might have, in another situation, might get companies that have many divisions have many different options. Some may be focusing on cost, some may be focusing on quality, blah, 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 blah. They are all making decisions based on the area of focus. That's going to add value. So when persons are making decisions, they make decisions based only on the shareholder. And then don't know them are doing it. It's not that sudden. Alright? And we don't have to make life more cumbersome and more complex than that. Just do it that way. Find the problems. So the key to this one is, and that's why I wrote it up there, is identify the problems in the case. And see if we fix it. Alright? The B part now, where here some person says, right, I'm gonna write some things up at A, I'm gonna write some things on at B, blah, 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 blah. They overlap. Alright? You have to try and figure out to what extent something to read can start the conversation. Alright?
In adapting to BBM, Vazi will have to change its performance measure ROC because this does not create value, but rather shows how
Blah, 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 blah. So obviously I must say that they must change it to EVA in that story. No, your job would be undone, incomplete, if you never mention that EVA has these challenges as well. So it's not the perfect solution, but it's the better solution. All right? Because I could also write, and I don't know if you put it somewhere else, just before you read, we're talking about stuff like EVA and value-based management, I guess in general, is the idea that it more encourages shareholder value creation behavior. All right? So sometimes we don't want to invest in new assets because that has spoiled ROCE, right? EVA, based on how it treats it, encourages you to spend money. All right? Because that asset is not adding to your capital employed during that current year, is the start of the next year. So it's almost like a getaway with a year without having to quote unquote account for it. And the idea is because the assets are adding, we're not expecting the asset to truly start turn around anything. Yes? So if I buy it in 2018, I would include it adjust capital employed at the start of 2019. All right? The behavior to make software spending, there is marketing spend, where is it again? The 0.6 million, the 0.6 million. There's an expense. No, in your profit and loss, it's written as an expense. But look at what we said. All right? So it needs to be accounted for and spent in the business. All right? And not simply just an expense. All right? Right, so go. All right, bring another one.
measures for individual managers and managers and business units will have to change to suit the objectives of the organization to provide good congruence. In BBM, it will be very costly in terms of time, culture, and also training costs for employees. Although the culture may be disliked by managers, they are willing to change. Customer satisfaction is very important, and therefore staff training will be required. It seems as if benefits outweigh the cost as it relates to BBM.
All right. So here's one again. You give us a negative in terms of it's costly. It will be a challenge to try and change the culture, right? Said something about the management in there being resistant to change. Never quite like that in say, but we want to make sure we mention it just like that in terms of saying they may be unwilling to change, but to get it in, it means that we're going to need change from the top. And the CEO has said he is willing to do that. All right? So, in a way, it's not just simply say that they're resistant to change or that the CEO is willing to change, but we need to make the point that the change is needed to be led from the top, and the CEO says he's ready. All right? So, bring that in as part of your whole idea of the value base, the idea of the value base system. It has to start from the top. That's the idea from the top. All right? And so the stuff that we use to encourage managers to perform, or we use to measure the manager's performance, all of those will have to change from all the way from the strategic level down to the tactical level. All right? So here's how you could have improved that answer now. Give me an example, since you say it needs to be changed from one level. Give me an example from the strategic level and give me one at the operational level. Now suddenly your answers risen to the consultancy level. Strategic, again, are related. So don't just start giving in a general strategic, so matter strategic stuff related. As in, the strategic stuff about what companies tend to do their operate. I said customer satisfaction. All right. You can come up with it with other things, maybe an operational
So I
level.
have strategic, at the strategic level, risk adjusted net NPV,
Okay.
which is shareholder value, but it accounts for each level.
Each level, right, yeah. Right. And we tend to use more NPV to assess projects than stuff like even ROC or whatever the thing is. All right. And if you bring in a bit of the discounted cash flow,
Yeah.
right? But you could just, as long as your suggestion relates to your example relates to the case. Now, the two that I mentioned, they're easy to come up with because they're same the case. So they're acquisitions. I mean, no, that must be done at the strategic level. And we talk about customer satisfaction, we hear about the training, right? And we know customer satisfaction is not done at the strategic level, at the people them on the ground.
Yeah.
So that's done there. But it could have been other things, since we know that they are dealing with projects. You could have mentioned stuff, for example, around the triple constraints as far as projects are concerned. So, are you delivering the projects on time, within budget, and to customer satisfaction? All right. So the customer satisfaction is actually one of the triple constraints. I could have used an example for the other two. Are the projects being done on time? Are the projects being done within budget? Right?
Project perspective.
Right, for a project perspective. And I'm using the project perspective as operational because I know Basil does projects. All right? So, one thing that I expect everybody to get from this, one of the sense, is that whenever I'm making these kind of comments, give an example from the case.
Yeah.
So even if it's not in the case, your example is still going to be case-based. If you mention strategic level, give me an example, such as that. You mention operational level, give me an example. All right? That now sounds as if you're thinking about the case. You're also doing something well here, guys, your communication skills. Because communication makes things clear. And the best way to make things clear is to give an example that I understand. And if I am a Basil somebody, my example to be something related. All right? Now you give me a football example, I'm in a ball. All right? I don't know what that is. Give me a Basil example. All right? All right, questions? All right, what about this part C? Using the information in Appendix 1.
Sir, I wasn't in here. I don't know if you spoke about performance management.
Management system, anything came to anybody?
Somebody?
Anybody?
Anybody? Please.
Going once.
So,
Did anybody say performance management systems?
So can you help?
I said, whatever you should case, I'm going to give another chance. Management is we want to encourage persons and divisions to perform to a certain level, right? And how we encourage that is the measures that we use, right? And so I can guess your management system based on the measures that you have. And if they are profit-based now, your management system will have to change one that is shareholder value based. Yeah. All right?
Okay. So you're saying that because how I answered it was a split between the two, you're saying that I should have spoke about
The
it.
smoker, yeah.
Because in answering the performance measurement, I would have hinted at the system change that's required. Okay.
So what happens now when you get yourself in a problem now is where you try to wait, I have set this
Which is why I'm
ready
going right, not the more.
for the measurement system. What am for the measurement? What am I going to write
For
for?
the system. Okay.
Alright. There could be other things that could be this as well. And some well, them say them don't know their level of customer satisfaction. Alright? Part of the whole idea of the measurement is the measurement system and by extension management systems that you should be able to measure. Right? We don't know what kind of system they have, but we get alright? Part of changing to BDM, and if you identify customer satisfaction as a key value driver, you're going to have to put a system somewhere. Yes? Them don't have anything like that. Alright? So if you want to call it a little bit of the IT part of it, you can bring that in as part of your answer. Alright? But don't just write your points. I'll just write my points separately. I would not be thinking of breaking necessarily measurement from management. Just bring up your points as you sort them out. Alright?
Okay.
Don't try to break up what is management really from what is measurement and that kind of thing.
You know, what is my issue? I just stopped.
Alright, generally, and this comes from part of doing past paper questions. Normally, I'm telling you about performance measurement and performance management system, we don't have to break it. Alright? But if he asks you about, for example, getting a little bit more granular, getting a little bit more specific when it comes to like performance management style, we can try and break stuff out there. Alright? But generally speaking, the measurement and the management is just look out for him when he asks you specifically now about tell me about the performance management style, or based on how he asks the question and it a hint at performance management style. So the management style will have to change, then we kind of zero in on that. I don't think we have enough here to speak specifically about the management style. Alright? So we can't really address it, so we have to keep it. We just have to keep it together. Have a category to talk otherwise. We don't have a grouping of performance management systems that you know about, that you can write to say it's this versus this. Alright? And just as an illustration, guys. So there are two divisions. So I'm going to try to simplify things as earlier you said we don't have too many measures and blah blah blah. So I'm using like margins for the dog and the cash cow. Alright? Are we okay with that?
No, sir.
The dog.
The
Cash
cash cow,
cow, why not the dog?
sir, cash and
And remember,
Which is why
dog
you're
don't automatically, by the way, guys, means that we reckon losses. It just means that we have a low market share in a low growth market.
So that you just eventually go to pay it out.
So eventually I'll come out of it, but don't mean to make losses. You know, so businesses have left industries they were making profit in.
But then it depends to make profit in the long run.
No man, it's just that them realize the market is declining and they decide to
Yeah.
come out before everybody.
So in the long run, you know, you're not going to be.
So why would the market?
It would be margin because you need to control your costs. This is something you need to be cognizant of time after time. We're making a loss, our profit is low, our keep.
Yeah, why wouldn't we?
Remember,
Yeah, net
I don't know why I
profit. That's how we control the
depends on which one of the margins you're watching.
net profit
Right.
are operating, yeah.
Okay, and if you're watching gross, then you might have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Alright,
why I didn't say
so if I'm watching margins, at least I know I should be getting whatever the agreed return was.
Yeah.
Alright? So I'm getting from those. Now, what does it mean, therefore, for my management when I start to think about my management style and my performance management systems? I'm going to put systems in place that can measure the margins and report it to me, whatever the frequency is. That's all. Therefore, my performance management system would probably be going to be around margins. It means that I watch budgets quite a bit. No, so, I'm probably going to do stuff like a variance analysis. See, let's decide here. The measurement and the management works together. It's not that they can have one measurement where over there so and one management where over here so. They must be in sync.
Yeah, right.
And similarly, if I go to my star. So now I'm trying to grab market share, that's all. So if I want to use the same measures as margin budget every quarter, I do, it's not my headache, let them do it. See, you know, it's my management style, I'm a management, my performance. Any other question though before we move on? Anybody agree? See? See? Anybody had looked at the appendix?
Yes. Okay. But guess what?
What?
I did the EBA,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm like, okay, this is palette adjustment. So what am I supposed to do? Now the verb had said, just comment or whatever. So I stated and not advise.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
like, this EVA cannot work 11 marks alone. It's too short.
If you know the EBS, some very simple adjustments out there.
Yes.
All right? Do we know how to make those simple adjustments?
No.
What do we start with, guys? No, that's all.
Or you can do the risk adjusted capital movement. How's that be?
We're following methodology. You know, why you never follow the methodology, you know?
I did follow it actually.
Oh,
Sir,
okay.
she's very unusual, sir. She's
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be.
it looks like I'm gonna make some fun bits right there.
Cyan. I'm going cyan.
Yeah.
The NOPAT, net operating profit after tax. We have a little strange thing there, because how do we start by calculating the NOPAT? What's the first item we normally look for? The operating profit. Can you find operating profit in this one? In the net profit. So after we're going at the things and we know how we're calculating this man just go along with what we give lady hit. Right? All right. So note you never given a no the operating profit, because the operating profit is what we start with. But why do we start with the operating profit? What's the one item that's not yet taken out of the operating profit? The finance cost. Right. All right. So if we get the net profit after tax, it means that the finance cost has already been taken out, which means that we need to add it back. So we know we have sense. We know what to do. That's all. All right. So let's start with our no part. See if we can do this quickly. Time is it now? You have to do the whole of this. All right, so let's do a notepad. All right, so we're starting with our net profit after. Is that ready? So we know that's one of the items because we're raising profit, but then we kind of know what to do with the interest. We can deal with it now if we want, since we are aware of it. Right? Since it will come up, so let's put it in. Add interest. So we have to add back interest. Again, I'm running it back is because normally we would have taken operating profit, which meant that the interest would have been included in there. All right, it wouldn't have been taken out yet. It would have formed part of the figure. Or add it back because it's no longer part of the figure. And the reason why we're doing it, by the way, why we don't take interest out is because interest accounted for or will be accounted for in WACC. So the cost of debt will be accounted for in if we include it here, we are double. All right, so let's not double. So if you ask us for the reason why we do it, we can we don't need to give the reason now, but we know the reason. We're accounting it as part of the work. Not come and taking it here, sorry. All right. So we're going to add back now our interest and the interest. But there's a thing that we normally, because as I said, mentioned it earlier, the tax break that interest would allow us. All right, because if it reduces our tax liability. All right. Turns to what and theme behavior with the EVA, we kind of lose that tax benefit. All right. I want to subtract that to say that that's a loss. All right. So that first and then subtract the tax. Because we include the interest in there. All right. Subtract. In this case, our interest million, the tax is
20%.
All right, that should give us what, 3 million?
Yeah.
So the net is 12. Because we're going to put that 0 here, so we just have to put this. And get vexed. So either I'm going to erase this, but they want us to read, by the way, so if we use decimal places, and I've never really needed to use it there, so we're not going to put it in there. Right? It means that we have to continue to use. All right? Through that particular question.
That looks like me?
Yeah.
Insensitive.
Because sometimes you put in the decimal place, sometimes you put it in, sometimes you put one decimal place, and then you put two decimal places. All in the same question, seriously? Confuse the poor man.
We need to get it.
All right, so that takes care of the interest portion. Questions on the interest portion, anybody?
No, go to the other one.
Ah, all right. So make the other one about it.
Yes.
All right, what's the other one? So note 2, by the way, is the capital employed at the start of the year is 250. So we know I put that in when we're doing the adjustments. So we're not ready for that yet. Number 3 was the interest charge, right? The interest charge for the year was 15 million on a variable rate loan with an interest rate of 10%. Basil is funded 60% debt and 40% equity. We will need that as well. We're compute the work, yeah. And the cost of equity is 12 and Basil pays a tax rate of 20%. So simplify the 20% there. And we know the cost of equity